Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of All Around Hockey, the YouTube channel for the all around hockey fan. So today's episode, we continue our series on the recording on doing all 32 teams in the National Hockey League. We've already done the Anaheim Ducks, Buffalo Sabres, Boston Bruins, and Calgary Flames, and today we focus on the defending Stanley Cup champion Carolina Hurricanes. So a little bit of a behind the scenes note. I did originally record a video and created a roster already that I've now published on Puckpedia. But when I got finished recording and was editing the video, I realized that halfway through my mic went out. So this is part two. So you've already seen all the moves I've made. So it's going to be a little bit different than the other ones we've done. But that's what we're going to be doing today. So like I said, we're going to focus on the defending Stanley Cup champion Carolina Hurricanes today. As we can look at their roster right now, they still have Nikolai Ehlers coming back for his second season there, Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, and Taylor Hall, Logan Stankoven, Jackson Blake, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Jordan Staal, Jordan Martinook, William Carrier, Mark Jankowski, Eric Robinson is a pretty solid four lines. And then obviously on defense, Jacob Slavin, Jalen Chatfield, Keandre Miller, Sean Walker, Shane Gostisbehere. The big person they need to get signed right now is Alexander Nikishin. We're kind of going to go over him and what we would do for that situation. They have Nikolai Deslauriers's back, Juuso Valimaki they signed. And then, right now they have Philip Ungersorm up here. But he might be somebody who makes the roster. He might not. But we'll kind of go over that a little bit later again. Brandon Bussi and Peter Kochenikov is the goaltending tandem they got going on right now there in Carolina. Obviously, Brandon Bussi was the man who finished the job there for the Hurricanes and played the last, I think, 3 games and won the Stanley Cup there. Freddie Anderson, they lost Freddie Anderson. He goes to the Edmonton Oilers. So is that going to be a big hit for them? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, they got Brandon Bussi signed to a nice 3-year contract, and Peter Kochenikov is still just a good goaltender. Is he the backup? Is he a starter? We'll have to wait and see. But we're going to go over to Hockey Reference, go over and look and see what they did last season. Obviously, you can see from here they were the Stanley Cup champions, Eastern Conference champions, Metropolitan Division champions. 53 wins, 22 losses, 7 overtime losses, 113 points, finishing first in the Metropolitan Division. And then obviously, as you can see from their playoff run, they swept the Ottawa Senators, which I thought was one of the hotter teams going into the playoffs. They swept them pretty easily. Philadelphia Flyers, they swept them. They beat the young up-and-coming Montreal Canadiens in 5 games, and then they beat Vegas in 6 to win the Stanley Cup. And was one of the more dominant playoff runs you're going to ever see. And it's just because I think that Rod Brind'Amour system is just one of the best in the National Hockey League. I think a lot of people are going to be trying to copy that and what he does. They just a shut down, choke you out type of team, and they play that system really well. Rod Brind'Amour is one of the best coaches in the National Hockey League by far, especially today. And that system is whenever I watch a Carolina Hurricane games, it's just amazing to watch, in my opinion. But as you can see here for the regular season, they had Sebastian Aho ended up with 80 points, 27 goals, 53 assists, 79 games. Nikolai Ehlers had 71 points last season. Andrei Svechnikov continues to just be solid production there from there in the first line. Seth Jarvis, their leading goal scorer, had 32 goals last season. He's going to be out for the first few months of the season. He had shoulder surgery. He's out 4 to 6 months, I think, something like that. So a little bit into the start of the season, Seth Jarvis will be out. So that's going to be a big blow for them. How are they going to deal with that? They got young guys like Jackson Blake to help deal with that. Obviously, he had 22 goals, 31 assists. One of the better up-and-coming players in the National Hockey League. Shane Gostisbehere continues to just be Mr. Reliable scorer back there on one of the better offensive defensemen in the National Hockey League. Taylor Hall, I think, has finally found his home. Logan Stankoven is just such a perfect Rod Brind'Amour player. They got, obviously, in the Mikko Rantanen trade. And then they brought in Keandre Miller last year from the New York Rangers. Jordan Staal continues to be Mr. Reliable. Alexander Nikishin had a really solid season, 11 goals, 22 assists for 33 points. Just continues to be. It seems to be a really solid young two-way defenseman in the National Hockey League. But he obviously wants payday at this point, which is the issue. As you can see, goaltending wise, Brandon Bussey played the most games, just a little bit, 39, opposed to Freddie Anderson's 35. But 31 wins, 6 losses, 894 save percentage, 247 goals against average. A really solid season from Brandon Bussey. Can he repeat that going into this season as probably the number one guy? We'll have to wait and see. And then Freddie Anderson, somebody who they've lost, it's probably going to be a big blow to lose him. 16 wins, 14 losses, and was a big catalyst for their playoff run, obviously leading them most of the way until he got hurt there those last few games. And then Brandon Bussey finished the job for them. And then Peter Korchennikov is still, like I said, really solid trio there. Now, tandem between Bussey and Peter, and so we'll have to wait and see how they handle that situation there. So again, as we kind of look back at the roster they had constructed here, go. Sorry. But as we kind of look back at their roster there, they had just a really solid team still there with that top line. And so this is kind of what we came up with a few transactions for the defending Stanley Cup champions. And one big move that I think maybe a lot of people may not like, I have to wait and see. But I think when we look back at the roster here, the big move we're going to make is acquiring Dylan Larkin and trading Alexander Nikishin and Jesperi Kotkaniemi. One of either Bradley Nadeau or Felix Auger-Sorum, I think, and then like a 2027 first round or fourth round pick since they're taking Jesperi Kotkaniemi in return. Kotkaniemi could be a good center for them. But I think this is a pretty solid team at the end of the day. When you look at it, this is with Seth Jarvis when he comes back from injury. Obviously, right now, Logan Stankoven is the second line center in real life. So Dylan Larkin would come in and be the second line center for them. Nikolai Ehlers would go back and play that solid third line there. You can even have Jackson Blake up there in the second unit, move Taylor Hall down. But I think, that's the big move right now. In my opinion, would possibly be make a big run at Dylan Larkin. He would have to agree to it. Obviously, his 4 teams right now, Carolina's still not technically on the list, but his 4 teams are still Florida, who's not going to get a trade done. The Dallas Stars, who I have to wait and see if they can get something done now that Jason Robertson signed long term. And then the Vegas Golden Knights, Minnesota Wild, and obviously the Detroit Red Wings don't have a general manager right now, so things are a little bit in limbo there too, anyways. But like I said, if I look at the teams that could possibly make a move for Dylan Larkin, I definitely think Carolina is one of those teams that has NHL ready guys. Alexander Nikishin obviously being the main target in that type of a trade. Bradley Nadeau, I think, is somebody who's ready to make that jump too. And so, and then they would take on Jesperi Kotkaniemi to be a center there and have a little bit more of a role on a probably rebuilding team now at that point. We'll have to see. But it's just kind of a trade that I thought was interesting. You guys have to let me know if that was something you might do. But that was the big move we made, was the Dylan Larkin trade. Obviously, usually I like to go through these things and build up suspense a little bit, but since I've already recorded the video and now have uploaded the roster, this is kind of how we're going to do it for the Carolina Hurricanes. But I mean, thankfully for this, there's not many moves since they're still the defending Stanley Cup champions. So there's the team that's doesn't need to make many moves, to be honest with you. Even if they didn't acquire Dylan Larkin, like I said, I think the second unit they had, as of right now, they had, I think, Nikolai Ehlers up there with Aho and Svechnikov. And then they had like Stankoven, Hall, Jackson Blake line. I think even Eric Robinson might be out for a little bit. He's out for about 8 weeks, I think. But you have to let me know if you guys like that type of a trade. Obviously, the Alexander Nikishin thing is not going away. He wants $8 million on a long-term contract, and they haven't gotten that finished yet. And it doesn't sound like they're getting close. So, and according to Dave Pagnotta, if Alexander Nikishin's getting traded, that Jesper Kotkaniemi is going to have to come along with it. A lot of people thought they were going to buy out Kotkaniemi. They didn't. So now I think they're kind of attaching him to any out-standardization trade, which is why I have him going to the Detroit Red Wings in that trade. But, they still have a solid defensive tandem. Jacob Slavin, Jalen Chatfield, Keandre Miller, Sean Walker, Shane Gostisbehere. They could play Joel Nystrom there. They could also go with Charles Alexis Legault. They also signed Yusuf Alamaki. There's another depth defenseman, and, so they could still be really productive there on the back end. And then I just really feel like Dylan Larkin provides that second line, just absolutely solid center, allows you to compete with those teams like Florida that's going to be solid this year. And obviously they can compete with those teams anyways. In the Metropolitan, Washington got maybe a little bit better with the moves they made. Philadelphia, I think, is going to still be pretty good since they're such a young team. Pittsburgh maybe takes a little bit of a step back. We'll have to wait and see, but they're going to go for it with Crosby and Malkin. We got the Columbus Blue Jackets coming up in a couple of videos, so we're going to go over their team, but they still might have some cap issues coming up here soon with what's going on with the Adam Fantilli situation. Islanders, we'll have to wait and see, especially if Matthew Strafey can produce again. But they got Pete DeBoer as their head coach now, so maybe that makes a difference for them. Rangers, they've had a couple of really bad years. I don't know if that really improves this year. We'll have to wait and see. And the New Jersey Devils is another team that has a lot of solid talent, but I don't know if they're better than the Carolina Hurricanes right now. And obviously, if they got a Dylan Larkin, I think the Carolina Hurricanes are very primed to compete for the Stanley Cup again. I think the roster they have now, they could compete for the Stanley Cup again too. The opening night against the Florida Panthers is going to be one of the more must-watch opening night games in the NHL. By far, the NHL knew what they were doing with that one, obviously. So you guys have to let me know if you guys like that trade. That's the only move I really have them that they could possibly still make. I don't even know if they even make a move now. But I do think that there's a potential Alexander Nikitin trade out there. He's been linked to the Rangers, maybe. I think in my Boston Bruins video, I had him going to the Bruins. So there's a lot of teams that would probably still be calling on Alexander Nikitin. That might be a situation that still needs to be resolved. And I just thought maybe that Elliot Friedman had them linked to Dylan Larkin. I'm sure Dylan Larkin wouldn't deny a trade to the Carolina Hurricanes, considering they just won the Stanley Cup. And I think that's his main goal, is to get back to the playoffs. And Carolina's been in the conference finals a lot of years before then too. So, and are just primed and ready to go for another run, I think, this season too. So you have to let me know if you guys like that trade down in the comments below. And our next video is going to be on the Chicago Blackhawks. Obviously, they had the big news of the Patrick Kane signing today, so we're going to deep dive a little bit more into that, see if there's any other moves they could possibly make this offseason or not, kind of look at their roster and see if they could bounce back from their woes the last couple of seasons. But that'll be our next video, is going to be on the Chicago Blackhawks. I hope you guys like this one on the Carolina Hurricanes. If you guys haven't already checked out my other videos of the season previews, please go check those out as well. As we continue to do this and use Puckpedia to go over any moves that possibly may happen. But if you guys like this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to All Around Hockey, the YouTube channel for the All Around Hockey fan. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.